so we'll go ahead and get started. I can see that we've a bunch of people have joined, and we'll probably get a few more, but let me just go ahead and kick this thing off. First of all, a really warm welcome to everybody who's joining us. We're really super glad that you're here. The topic, as you can see from the slide, is improving the velocity, efficiency, and quality of your software delivery, which I think is probably the holy grail of software development delivery, but we're gonna take a stab at trying to break this down and help out with it today. First, I wanted to just thank everyone who noted their area of interest or questions in the registration for this webinar. It's really helpful to us, and I've passed those along to the panelists, so hopefully they'll cover some of those questions and areas in the presentation, but if not, we've left some time at the end for Q&A, and we're definitely eager to answer any of those questions you guys might have that haven't been covered in the presentation. So I'm Chris McHale. I'm co-founder and CEO of SDK and Associates, and we're co-hosting this webinar along with CloudBees. And just a couple of short notes about SDK. We're a technology services company. We're completely dedicated to improving and accelerating product development process for our client partners, as we refer to them. We've been working at this for over 20 years now for large companies and small companies in a variety of industries: financial, medical device, aerospace, general manufacturing, and of course, software. CloudBees, which I'm sure you'll hear about in just a moment, is a software company focused on delivering leading DevOps solutions, software delivery, automation, and management. And we'll hear a lot more about their platform in a moment. So with me today are two very smart and capable professionals who will be guiding us through an overview of this topic and answering any questions you might have at the end of the session. So first of all, Sunil Mavadia, which is, for some reason, my slides are not working here, so I'm just going to keep on working with this. Sunil Mavadia is the Director of Global Solutions Architecture with CloudBees, where he's focused on growing and managing high-performance teams in the software delivery automation space. So he brings many years of experience in software development to this role and to our discussion today. Next, we have a substitute for Carlos Almeida, who was originally one of our panelists, and that's probably what you saw in the registration. But unfortunately, he can't be with us today. So instead, we have the benefit of Joshua Kling, who is a DevOps engineer at SDK, focused on implementing and providing managed services on the CloudBees platform for our clients. So Josh has been involved with continuous delivery, or CD, that aspect of CloudBees platform for several years, starting when it was Electric Cloud. So he has a bunch of these implementations under his belt and a lot of practical knowledge to share. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to you, Sunil, to kick us off and start us out here.
Fantastic. Let me see if I can share my screen.
Yeah, always a challenge.
Yeah, I know. Let's see. I don't want. Who can share? All panelists, I think. All right, come on, share my screen. And there we go. Hopefully you guys can see my screen.
Not yet, oddly.
No. And I have to hit share. That's why.
Now we got it.
Now we've got it.
Hitting share always helps, right?
I know, right. To get it all set up, the button is important.
Exactly. Hi, everybody. So my name is Sunil Mavadia. I'm the Director for Global Solutions Architecture. My background is or has been in software delivery over the last 25 years. My last 10 years or so have been working with competing companies like Zevia Labs and then Electric Cloud, which got acquired by CloudBees. And so now I am in a very unique position to actually, pass my experience to the audience. So I'm really happy to be here. One thing about CloudBees, of course, is that we are the market leaders when it comes to software delivery. You can see, if you're familiar with Gartner and Forrester reports, we are on the top right quadrants of their analytics, right? Their reports. And so with that said, we compete with the likes of IBM and Digital AI and those kinds of companies, but we are the only company in the world that provides a full suite of end-to-end software delivery solutions. We'll talk a little bit about that. So, today we know that every business that does any sort of software development is in the business of delivering software, right? I mean, regardless of which company it is, they're doing some sort of delivery, right? And so they want to drive innovation quickly. They want to optimize the development and delivery and reduce risk. I will probably add to this is add security as well, right? Because if you think about it, at the end of the day, it all boils down to how much or how secure your applications are. With that said, if you think about the number of development tools and people and processes and business units and such a diverse geographic community of developers in every organization, there's always a lack of integrated or end-to-end delivery development cycle and processes, right? This is your tools, process, and people triangle that we try to connect. What this leads to is a lack of end-to-end visibility in the SDLC and a lack of traceability and audit and governance at the end of the day. Now, what we need, and some of these statistics that are on this, I probably don't need to read them, but I think the one in the middle is probably one of the most important, right? 84% of respondents say inaccessibility of information gets in the way of their ability to do their jobs and make data-driven decisions. Why is that important? Well, if I need to go from one environment to the next, or push my code from one business unit to the next, or from one development to a customer, without significant data that says my code is now valid, it's secure, it is perfect, it's kind of hard to push that to somebody who's looking for a perfect solution, right? So that lack of information is what makes these data-driven decisions even harder to make. So with that said, today, the modern software delivery platform that CloudBees provides, which we call Software Delivery Automation, or SDA, addresses these 5 significant use cases. CI, which is driven by CloudBees CI, product name and process or use case is kind of synonymous in this case. And then you have continuous delivery, release orchestration, and value stream management, which is driven by CloudBees CD. And then the third product is feature management, which is the feature management use case. All these 5 use cases tie your teams, your processes, and your tools together through the various integrations that we have. And today we probably have 200, maybe 300 supported integrations across our SDA suite. And we have literally thousands of community integrations that that you can use. Now, obviously, the community ones are not supported, but they are usable. Okay. And what does the SDA suite actually address, right? So if you look at how your development practices are today in your organization, you are probably doing some sort of R&D type activities where you need to be fast and furious. In a lot of cases, these are SaaS-based tools, right? SaaS-based applications, and they're using everything in the cloud. But in larger organizations, you have those targets, modernization targets, those mission critical apps, those internal systems that are revenue generating, and you cannot get away from having any sort of impact to those types of applications, right? And so you still have to address those. And then you have those applications that are phasing out, and it's possible that your mission critical revenue generating apps are being distilled into smaller microservices or Lambda or functional type of apps. But you have to address all of these type of applications in a single pane of glass view, so to speak. Okay, and that's where the SDA suite comes in. And so what does SDA provide you, right? It provides you with a formal enterprise scale connected CI/CD platform that provides you that overarching audit and governance, right? And then standardization behind that. What is standardization? The ability to reuse your pipelines, your templates, your releases over and over again, right? The deployment mechanisms come into play in this case. Entities, process, and assets readily across your entire CI/CD pipeline, and of course, shared orchestration across all groups, teams, and tools. This provides you with the full visibility that you need. On the left side is all the things that you don't want, of course, right? Because these are disjointed. It's disjointed. Chris has a smile on her face because I know she's been there. Joshua, I'm sure you'll agree with me in this case. So what does SDA Solutions do? Well, it allows you to automate, orchestrate, govern, audit your entire application portfolio, right? Drive your innovation quick, optimize your software delivery, and reduce the risk. And risk is one of the biggest things that corporations have to undergo and keep a check on a daily basis, right? You need to be able to enforce your corporate best practices, your regulatory and security compliance practices, right? At the end of the day, if I'm not collecting any data out of this, it's all worthless, right? And so what we do is provide you with a single system of record. Why is that important? This is where all your tools, your processes, your people connect together, and with a single pane of glass view, you can see across your entire SDLC which application is deployed where, by whom, by when, and if there's any sort of problems, you can go back and analyze that in a single platform, okay? And so today, CloudBees, CI, CD, and Feature Flag provide you with integrations through all these different tools and all these different categories that you see today. And quite frankly, every large organization has a hybrid approach to moving their applications from an on-prem to a cloud, or half on-prem, half cloud, or maybe 10% cloud and 90% on-prem, right? But the ability to be able to point and shoot to those platforms is ultimately important. So with that said, CloudBees, again, the SDA Suite has these three significant products within that are contained within SDA Software Delivery Automation. CloudBees CI provides you with that continuous integration and delivery mechanisms. Some people do extend CI to go into CD, but what you lack is what CloudBees CD provides, which is release orchestration, deployment automation, and pipeline environment management. And then you tie all that stuff together with your value stream management, which provides the reports, the dashboarding, the metrics and analytics that you normally need. Right? And then the third product is CloudBees Feature Flags, which lets you separate your feature deployment from your code releases. Why is that important? I need to be able to turn on a feature on demand, depending on which environment the feature is in. And also when I deploy to production, whether it's directly to a customer or to a production environment, I need to be able to turn on or turn off those feature flags or manage them in general, right? So CD, we talk about continuous delivery or the extension of CI into CD. What is really CD all about? It's really about delivering business services and value, right? And releasing software at an enterprise scale is hard. I'm not going to read all of this, but I'm going to touch on some significant points. Orchestrating the complexity of a release is difficult when you're talking about multiple applications and multiple technologies coming together. Governance, how do you deal with the security, compliance, audit, right? The agility versus control. You need to be agile on the CI side for sure, but you need to provide the control, consistency, and portability and repeatability, right? And scalability on the CD ARO side. Yeah, so what does CD solve? It provides you with the control and governance plane, right? Those guardrails that we talk about. You want to simplify the provisioning and experience around build and release, not only for developers in this case, of course, but for those release managers, product owners, operations folks, right? You want to automate the audit, traceability, reporting, improve the velocity of your releases, of course, and the effectiveness of that. And at the same time, drive value rather than having to spend time troubleshooting and auditing, right? And so again, in the enterprise landscape, we want to address all these different buckets of applications from greenfield to brownfield. And if you see what problems you're trying to solve and the critical capabilities, these are the critical capabilities that you're trying to address, right? You have CI, CD, continuous deployment, release orchestration, security and audit and compliance, your DevOps metrics and analytics, of course, environment management, and we'll show you a little bit of that in the demo, right? Deployment automation and feature management. So with that said, you know, CI and CD come together in this form. So you have CI providing you with those fast dev, build, test, publish pipelines, and CD providing you with those scheduling, gate approvals, compliance, and providing you with a standardized release mechanism and deployment automation and environment management, all in a single package. At the end, obviously, is the DevOps analytics and reporting that comes built into CloudBees CD. So I want to give you a quick customer success story. TIA is a large company that I think most people know. Today, they use CloudBees CI and CD to drive their software delivery right into containerized environments. It is an ongoing journey for TIA, but at the end of the day, they're using the platform to increase the velocity of delivery of their applications. You know, and they're a worldwide company today, right? And so this story itself, please click on the link. We will share this deck with you, and you will definitely get a whole lot more out of this story. With that said, I want to kick off a quick demo here. So if you give me a second, I will set up the demo for you so that you get a chance to see that. And do you still see my screen?
Actually, we can see we're back to your photos. If actually for a second here, Sunil, while you're doing that, I'm going to throw a poll up. We had a couple of polls that we were interested in getting.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to go ahead and launch this polling. If can you guys all see that? Yep, great. All right. So if you go ahead and answer a couple of these questions, we have another one too if we have time. But we're just really interested in seeing what the state of everybody else's situation is out there.
Fantastic. And I will wait until you are done with the poll to kick off. I'm assuming you can see my screen. Is that correct?
Yeah, I can see your screen now. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, just get a couple more seconds, see if anybody else wants to respond here.
Great.
Okay, I'll go ahead and end that now so we can get you over to what you're going to do. And I'll share the results a little bit later. So go ahead and do your thing there, Sunil.
All right, great. Let's kick off the demo. So basically, this is the demo of CloudBees CD CI. For those of you that are familiar with CloudBees CI or Jenkins, we're not going to touch. But CloudBees CD gives you a good overview of how things come together in a complete end-to-end visibility frame. Okay.
Sunil, Josh, unless you can, I can't hear anything, but I can certainly see the demo. Is that true for you, Josh?
Yeah, I have no audio here.
Yeah, so maybe just talk through it there, Sunil, while it's going through.
Sure. I'm sorry. So this is the CloudBees CD product, right? So the idea here is that software is going from left to right. I'm going to turn the volume down on that. So you can still hear me loud and clear?
Yep, no problem.
Okay, great. So basically, this is CloudBees CD. Software flows from left to right, and what you see are the stages of the different environments as code flows from left to right, right? So what we do with this is that every single task has a purpose, right? And if you look very closely at these tasks, there are integrations behind the task. Today, we integrate with Jira, for example, test tools, Slack if you're into chat ops, ServiceNow. Right here, I'm generating a service ticket. If you look in the pre-prod environment, there is a service desk ticket, which enables operations at the end of the day, right? The operations folks want to know what is being deployed to their environment. And so as we kick off a release here, you will see that we are going to, let me see if I can make this a little simpler. So as it runs in the dev, we're going to get stuff out of Jira. We will build and package using CloudBees CI, run some tests in development, and then update the Jira tickets. I'm not sure if you guys can see this very well, but if I can, there we go, come on. So I apologize for the very bad graphics.
That's okay.
But the video is still running. It actually is running through the demo. On the dev side, basically, it's those build, build, test, publish type of pipelines, which basically push an artifact to Artifactory, for example, or Nexus, right? And then from there, we basically pull in the artifact to deploy the QA or pre-prod, a stage, right? Right here, we can see development just got done. And here I'm going to pull up a Jira report that got, generated during the process. Why is this important? Because I can now see all my Jira tickets and actually click on a Jira ticket and go into Jira. This is great for those release managers, product owners who are looking for, what's being deployed, right? This is building that bill of materials. Have access to the Jenkins builds. If I scroll down, I also have access to the SonarQube report if I wanted to. Once it goes into QA, for example, here, we now have a manual check, right? This is those checks and balances that people need to address. Manual approvals, whether it is a checklist, right, to move code from one environment to the next. In this case, Raj is the release manager, and he's going to approve this, this release to move forward, right? And you can actually do this via email as well. So it's not just the GUI front end, but you can also do this through email. Raj approved this. It's now moving through pre-prod. Right here, you will see that we actually send out a message to the Slack environment, right? In this particular screen, we are showing what's been deployed to which environment. So if you look on the top, you will see UAT, pre-prod. At the bottom, you will see the version of the application and the names on the far right, which you can't see too well. But the versions, and if I pop up this, you can see, I can see additional information as to what's been deployed. I can even actually enhance this by providing a URL to the application if needed. Dependency management. This is a key feature of CloudBees CD. Now, you are deploying multiple applications in a particular release. In this case, online banking batch release on the far left is a release. And those things that you see on the far right are the actual components. Now, if there was any dependency between components, you would see that here. You can even initiate dependencies between components by using the SelfService Catalog, which you can see at the very top in the brown bar. Okay. So once again, dependency management is a key feature of CloudBees CD. You can also initiate actually actions through this particular, since down at the bottom, there was one of the pipelines that wasn't complete. Right here, as you expand, this is a different view of that tree chart. This is the list view. One more thing here that I think is of good importance is the release calendar, right? The release calendar shows you all the releases that are in flight or have been completed. The green lines are the completed releases. And you can drill down, as you can see, you probably can't see it. I apologize. But the idea is that when you look at a release or a suite of releases occurring over a significant time frame, not only can you block those releases going to a environment through what we call environment reservation. That's the black line that you see on the screen, because we store environment information within CloudBees CD, right? Production environment has 50 resources, and you want people to stop deploying to the production environment, on the 10th of this particular month, right? And so all releases will pool against that environment and deploy on the 11th once that environment reservation lifts. Okay. At the end, all the stuff that you do with CloudBees CD gets populated into these dashboards, right? The DevOps inside dashboard is that value stream management piece that we talked about briefly. But these dashboards are all built in to CloudBees CD, and you can customize these. The widgets are all customizable. You can change them around if you needed to. They rely heavily on tags, for example. So if you had thousands of pipelines, thousands of applications, you can imagine the amount of data that's being collected on a daily basis, right? To be able to filter that data is ultimately important. Now, with that said, if you had teams that just needed to see specific data, you can hone in on just that sort of data. This right here is a deployments dashboard, for example, in a microservices type of environment, right? Success, error rates, for example, deployments to specific clusters, if you needed that. Behind each dashboard is a DSL editor, right? Actually, every single object within CloudBees CD is code enabled. In other words, you can check in the DSL code, and once you make a change to that, that is ultimately reflected on the front end. There you go. There's your tags. If you use tags heavily and you understand that concept, that is exactly what this is. For those of you that know DORA metrics, out of the box, CloudBees CD provides you with at least 4 of the 6 DORA metrics: deployment frequency, right? I believe it's mean time to change or mean time to failure, etc. And last but not least is the smart map. The smart map gives you a good visual on the dependencies between your microservices, clusters. If you use AWS or on-prem infrastructure, installing our agents kind of gives you this particular view right out of the box, right? This is great for people that just need additional information on what's deployed where and the dependencies between different microservices and applications if that's necessary, right? The auto discovery happens within CloudBees CD once you install the agents on your infrastructure, and it generates this smart map automatically. So with that said, that's the end of that demo. I am hoping that there are more questions that this spurred. And I will pass it over to Josh. Josh, it is yours. If there are questions, please ask them in the chat, and I'm sure Chris will moderate those and pass them over to me.
So while Josh is sharing his screen, I'll go ahead and share the results of our poll. I thought it was interesting that for number 2, the majority of the tools connected or integrated were just dead half and half there.
That's kind of normal.
Yeah. We have a couple of smaller, probably most of who's on this call are not as many DevOps tools across the organization, but we have one there that's 26 plus, so that's probably a large organization. All right, so why don't you go ahead, Josh?
Okay, you should be able to see my screen now. Just want to make sure that's happening.
Can do. Yep,
okay.
Okay.
Great.
Yep.
So as Chris mentioned, I'm Josh Kling. I'm a DevOps engineer with SPK. I've been working with CloudBees for 3 years, I suppose now, as a professional services engineer. Quite a few implementations under my belt, 5 or 6, something like that. And we've had a lot of success working with a lot of interesting clients. So I've got a couple things to cover with you today. First, I've got our managed services and what that means in relation to CloudBees CD and how that works. And then I've got a couple success stories to go over and give you an idea of what it looks like to work with us. So Sunil had a wonderful demo there of CloudBees CD, and this is sort of an add-on to that. We love using CloudBees CD, and we support it using our managed services here. What does that mean? So DevOps managed services, it's a powerful option for companies wanting to accelerate their DevOps transformation. They want to have their software delivery foundation managed centrally by an experienced provider. In this case, that would be SPK and Associates. We bring our expertise, our years of knowledge into helping you accelerate this journey here. Under normal circumstances, you as an enterprise user are going to be managing CloudBees CloudBees CI/CD, the entire platform yourself, and it could be a complicated experience. So the value that we add here is coming in the middle there as a managed services provider right here. We take that out of your hands. We manage the entire thing in the cloud, and we take care of all the middle management and a lot of pipeline stuff and add a lot of value there. So, oh, sorry, let me move this out of the way here. It's kind of, Zoom has some stuff in the way. So for SPK's hosted CloudBees CI/CD with managed services, you get a lot of stuff. You get, we use the AWS Cloud Infrastructure Services, not the on-prem hardware, which means you leave the operational management of infrastructure and platform to SPK. So we take care of that ourselves. You get built-in monitoring and management of your CloudBees platform with our Spyglass system. That's our deep monitoring system to monitor the CloudBees platform and activity. Proprietary, remote monitoring and management system, and it's optimized for engineering applications. We respond to all the alerts, and we take care of any issues that pop up there. We also offer managed backups, so it's simple to do, and easier scaling. All CloudBees, or sorry, all AWS services are easily scaled. So if you need more power to make more builds, that's easy to do here. We take care of that real quickly. It can even be automated. And of course, if you're already in the AWS environment there, it's easy to connect with other AWS services because it's all, the ecosystem is all connected together. Probably the biggest benefit to using managed services with CloudBees CI/CD is the quick and easy setup. Since we already have the platform set up and ready to go in the cloud, you don't need to do any installation there. The only thing that needs to happen is connection. So whatever servers and build processes are going on connected on your side can be connected into the cloud, and then it just runs up there. We are also offering release pipelines that are pre-built for common release styles, which Sunil brought up some of the template pipelines there. He showed just a standard pipeline that was managed in CloudBees CD, and we have all that you can drop in your build technology into and then run from there. We have those as templatized pipelines, so that saves time and effort. You can just go in, load up a pipeline, and start to play around with it. We also have a lot of extra pre-built dashboards, providing more visibility and reporting that work with our templatized pipelines there. So Sunil showed a couple dashboards that come out of the box with CloudBees CD, and we offer more dashboards on top of that are built to work directly with our pipelines. And they run with your own build processes too. So every project that you've got has its own code base, its own build process, its own testing, own reporting. All we do is we take that and we load that into our templatized pipelines using DSL. All right, and we also offer ongoing support and operational management by our team of certified engineers. So if anything goes wrong, we're there to take care of it. We're there to help out. You have ongoing access to application expertise, and you don't need to dedicate your valuable engineers to becoming CloudBees experts, which means they are freed up to actually do the engineering for your teams. And we can, of course, make ongoing modifications to pipelines as needed. So if you want to add in more technology, it's easy to do. If you want to add in more reporting, we can make dashboards. There's lots that we can take care of there. So I think that's it for this. Next up, I'd like to talk about a couple success stories that we've had. Yep. So here's one success story that we came across about a year ago, I suppose. So the problem was we were working with a Fortune 100 company that wanted to have consistent project releases without recreating a new release pipeline every single time. The release had to be repeatable, and it had to have consistent logging, testing, manual gates, output behavior, and actually quite a few other requirements as well. But there's too many to list here. It needed to be able to build a variety of projects that utilize completely different code bases and build procedures. So all the projects were completely unrelated, but they all had to run through this one release pipeline here. And to start with, they were creating a different release pipeline for every single project, and it was just causing a huge amount of overhead for all their teams. This sort of problem is kind of a bread and butter issue for CloudBees CD. We see this kind of thing all the time. And our solution in this case was, go forward, a release template pipeline. This is actually related to what I just talked about with the managed services here. Our solution was to generate a pipeline to be used as a release template and then generate sub-pipelines for each project. So how does that work? The release template pipeline, it ran consistently for every single release, enforced code testing, manual process, reporting requirements, and quite a few other requirements. And it was the same pipeline every single time, no difference. But each project had its own build going on, its own requirements, its own components, everything completely different. But to take care of that, whenever the release pipeline reached a build process or a testing process or reporting process, something like that, instead of having that process actually in the large release pipeline, it would just call a sub-pipeline associated with that project to run the actual build. It was all completely code-based, all done in DSL. And that way the custom project code can be built however it needs to be, and the main pipeline remained consistent every single time.
And just to add to that, Josh, if I may, this is all about standardization, right? And the ability to have nested pipelines. And that is a huge boon for development and ops teams, right? Because one, you're leveraging a standard process, right? But you're also providing that capability to the dev teams to be able to not only nest their pipelines, but have this high velocity pipelines or sub pipelines that are running consistently all the time, every time. Good stuff.
You're totally right, Sunil. So the only requirement here was that each project had to be developed alongside their own sub-pipeline. And it was the same way that tests are written as the code is produced. You just have a build process that gets saved with your code. In this case, it was saved in the project repos. And then it just got called as a property every time the pipeline ran, and it would just chug through it. At the end of this process here, the customer's releases were a lot simpler, a lot more consistent. They were able to get the same data every time. They were able to run things consistently every time. And it just made things a whole lot easier to track. So another success story that we had was probably a little simpler to understand here. We use release SelfService Catalogs to create a surprising benefit for a client. In this case, we were working with a Fortune 500 company that wanted to make the release process available for project managers. But there was a key element going on here, is that the project managers didn't want to have to become experts on CloudBees. So the requirements were minimal training, control of what a PM could see and do, and the release pipelines had to already been completed and be ready to use. So in this case, the solution was to utilize the SelfService Catalogs, which are a very powerful tool within CloudBees CD. SelfService Catalogs, they let you customize a UI for a client. So you can go into a self-service catalog and you can set up a series of buttons, drop-downs, inputs, that sort of thing, and you can kick off any procedure, any pipeline, any release, anything you want. So in this case, the catalog was set up custom for the client system. So only the options that absolutely needed to be available for the PM were available in the UI. They had project name, version number, release windows. Oh, sorry, you were going to say, Sunil?
No, I was just going to interject. Go ahead and finish. I have something to add to what you're saying.
Sure. When you kick off a release, there's a whole lot of options that you have available to you. But in this way, they had the PMs had a nice friendly UI that only had a few options that they needed to change. Everything else was just consistent release to release, so they didn't need to look at that. So a PM didn't need to learn the entire CD release process to create a release. All they had to do was go into the self-service catalog, click a few buttons, and they were off to the races. At the very end, they'd get supplied with a direct link to the catalog and to the release as it went along. So they had a very easy time to just get to write what was going on.
No, I think the self-service catalog is definitely one of the most critical features, right, in CloudBees CD. And the fact is that when it's developed correctly, in this case, for example, it provides functionality that allows teams to become so much more efficient, right? And this is actually one of the stories where I think having the front end, that portal entry. Sorry, have a baby in the background. So this is the day and age of having online meetings now.
Yeah.
But anyway, self-service catalog, an absolutely critical feature and absolutely necessary.
Yep, and it's a powerful feature we use with almost every client, I would say. It can do so much. We've used it to generate configs. We've used it to kick off releases like this, make new pipelines, do things that are completely unrelated to CloudBees CD just because it's easy to do in a self-service catalog. So at the end of this solution here, I would say the client was extremely happy because PMs all of a sudden had a lot of work taken off their plates, a lot of potential learning taken off their plates, and they were much more able to focus on the actual project itself rather than how to figure out how to get this release done. So those are my two success stories for you. I think at this point, we're going to move into the question and answer phase. Yep, right there. So I'll pass it back to Chris.
All right, thank you, Josh. That's great. So that's the presentation and success story portion of what we had planned for everybody. We would really love to get any questions from anyone that's attending, anything that the presentation might have brought up, or any of the questions that you had originally that you were hoping to get answered if they didn't get answered by this presentation. So I'll just wait a moment or two and see if there isn't. I will go to the list of questions that was submitted before. Oh, just put your question. Sorry, I didn't mention this. Put it in the Q&A panel, the Q&A icon down at the bottom of the Zoom. Yeah. And then we can see.
There was one question that said, do you have integrations with a couple of tools. I think the comment that I made was that if there is a REST API that's open and available for a particular tool, then it's very easy for us to actually create integrations for those tools if they don't exist, right? But as it stands today, CloudBees has over maybe 300 plus supported integrations. And then of course, thousands of community integrations that you can use.
Yeah, the original questioner popped in, said that the question was about, sorry, I'm not going to pronounce this right. It's either Tulip and Fabricator. I think that's how you pronounce it, because I'm not familiar with those two.
That's correct.
Okay.
I'm not either. Yeah. So that's why I made the comment around REST API. If it's open and accessible, we can create an integration.
It's actually an interesting point, because Tulip and Fabricator, guys, thank you so much for that pronunciation hint. But actually, the reason what I just wanted to mention or add on there, Sunil, is it's funny. I was just having an interaction with somebody on LinkedIn, a person I didn't know, software developer, and we were talking about the best tools, the best way to approach a real automated software delivery situation. And the first thing he said was, a lot of the platforms don't really they're not set up with those APIs first, right? In order to easily integrate all of the different tools that you use in software engineering. And so he was making a point about those APIs being so necessary and important. We have another question, which was, what's the difference between CloudBees CI and CD, and do they integrate? Do you want to take that one, Sunil?
Yeah, sure. So CI is continuous integration, right? And so this is your build, package, test, push to an Artifactory kind of pipeline, and it's fast, furious, and you can set up your CI servers to do consistent, development of CI practices across many teams. What CD does is it extends that beyond the CI practices and takes your application that's been built and pushes that to the various environments, right? With a standardized deployment automation mechanism, provide you with a larger release orchestration capability, right? That environment and pipeline management capability that we talked about. And then of course, the dashboards and reporting, right?
Yeah.
So that's the stuff that kind of is a miss in CI, but we bring that into CD with a very tight integration.
Yeah, just to add into that, the integration has become tighter with time. Back when this was Electric Flow, there was an integration between Jenkins and CloudBees CI and Flow in the plugin sense. But now, since they have become under one roof, they're integrated directly out of the box. So they're just an easy plug and play right there. You don't even have to do a plugin.
That's correct.
Do
in fact, that
go ahead.
I was just going to say, and that in fact that goes across for all three of the SDA Suite products, right? CI, CD, and Feature Flag.
And is it, Josh, you can answer this one. Most people start with CI, or is there, and then move on to CD, or is it just wherever the problem is greatest?
I would say I commonly see people starting off with CI. But then adding on CD, as Sunil said, gives you a much more powerful view of what's going on, a lot more control of what's happening, especially with the dashboards. Makes it very easy to see what's going on. Agreed.
And with every DevOps transformation, so to speak, you have to have a very solid CI practice. And when I say CI, I'm talking about the methodology, right? Not the product.
Right.
When I say CI, you should be building, packaging, testing consistently and pushing to a repository, your applications that you're building, right? So that needs to be fundamental. That needs to be solid before you start pushing into the CD, arena, right, so to speak.
Right. We have another question that says, can you talk more about manual checkpoints and approvals? We want our QA department to be able to approve releases. And hopefully their approval would be based on an automated report.
I think I can answer that.
Go ahead.
Manual checkpoints and approvals are extremely powerful and very customizable within CloudBees CD. You can put them on any process going on in a pipeline or in a release, and you can have release gates both in and out of stages. The manual steps that you can put in there, you can attach anything you want to it. So if you want to attach an automated report to that, you can just put a link into the manual step. And then when your QA department goes to the manual step, they can click the link and just go straight to the report, take a look at it, make their decisions, and move on from there. If you're doing a something more complex, like an application deployment, you can work in some business logic there too. So you can have branching pathways, and you can work things all the way around to go back to a backup if something goes wrong.
Yeah, and purely on the approvals side, you could also do that via email, right? You could extend the approvals through an email interaction, approve or reject. Even beyond just the UI, you can extend the UI to have checklists, attachments, et cetera, et cetera. So if you wanted to attach your test results so that the QA folks can look at those before they do the approval, that can be done too.
Okay, we have another question which is asking for, bird's eye view or summary for the differences between other similar tools to, I think they meant to Jenkins, CloudBees, or CloudBees platform. So what is the difference between, say, CloudBees platform, CI/CD, and some other similar tools?
Sure, I can take that if you want, Josh. So the difference, of course, is that the SDA platform is the only platform in the world today that provides a full end-to-end visibility across your entire software delivery automation pipeline, right? So at the end of the day, if you look at other competing products, there are multiple products. Sorry about my baby. There are multiple products that you have to purchase to do exactly what we do with one singular platform. All right.
Okay, thanks, Sunil. We really can't hear the baby, by the way. But
sorry, I can. He's loud. He's just.
I can't hear him.
6 months old, and he's just.
And, yeah, no rules apply to the 6-month-old. That's for sure.
No, exactly. There you go, Russell. Russell says a crying baby makes me feel at home. So there you go, Russell. We appreciate you.
Yeah, along with the dog barking and the cats trying to walk across your keyboard, right? That along with it.
Exactly.
Okay, I don't have any other questions that are popping up on chat, but there was a what I call the sort of the question of all questions that came in originally in one of the registrations. Yeah, because I think it's important to address, even though there's not a great, perfect, and quick answer for it, and that is one of the registrants was having an issue or a challenge with the lack of development leadership, their software development leadership, understanding DevSecops. And I wonder if, Sunil, this might be for you really, since you have the gray hairs, I think, to prove it, but sorry.
That's okay. It's okay. You can't see them today because I did shave.
We all have gray hairs now all the time. So, okay. Do you have, any guidance for somebody like that to try to educate their development leadership, ways that they can, really probably proof is the most important, right? Probably.
Yeah. We talk about audit, governance, and security very heavily, right? And then in the DevSecops world, the key is that, when we talk about security in general, one is getting the applications to a point where we know they're secure, but more importantly, the governance side says, how do you prove that these are actually secure, right? And the reports, the information that comes out of the tooling should be presentable, right? In a true secure environment, it's what we call authority to operate, ATO, right? And so the ATO says, hey, I have X, Y, and Z, and according to Mr. ATO, who has to do the approval, I'm satisfied with it. Now I can approve and move forward, or I reject and we go back to the drawing board, right? So DevSecops plays a huge role in this, but the ability to have those sub-pipelines like Josh talked about, right? And have maybe a security pipeline that's controlled by the security folks, an infrastructure pipeline that's controlled by the infrastructure folks, right? And that way, Nobody has an opportunity to mitigate or deviate from those practices, but they're also providing feedback into the normal release cycles so that everybody has visibility. Transparency and traceability, two things that I think are so ultimately important.
The other thing I was thinking of is, and you guys might have this, CloudBees may have this, are there any success stories or even white papers and such that you guys might have published that really give metrics and or quantitative measurements that show benefits from implementing a DevSecOps philosophy into a development environment?
Yeah. There's plenty of white papers, success stories, huge implementations that we can. And in fact, if you go to cloudbees.com, there is a lot of that information already available at your fingertips.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I would recommend that as somebody who's an executive in a company. If somebody gives me hard evidence that a particular tool or philosophy or change in process works, and I can really evaluate that goes a long way to convincing me or to convincing anybody in leadership that this is really important. It's not just a fad.
It does.
It really does work. It really makes a business difference. You have to show it makes a real business difference, and then people are
Agreed. Now, everybody loves to code, right? The fact is that you love to code, but as you move to the right side of that equation, those practices dwindle, but you also have to provide the capacity for those kind of folks to be able to interact with your entire pipeline, right? With the entire delivery cycle, because it's not just all about development, you see. So exposure, transparency is ultimately important.
Right. Let's see, not seeing any other questions here. There was one question that came in the registration that I just wanted to mention, that they were interested in, they were out of the medical information services sector or industry. They were interested in managing the whole development process end-to-end, including requirements and exceptions, because that's quite important in life sciences, regulated. We did not cover that. And the reason I wanted to bring that up is that Carlos has an enormous amount of experience in that area because SPK is in a lot of work in the life sciences area. So if that person is still interested in any information there, feel free to reach out to us or hit our contact us form. And Carlos can, if you just want to have a conversation about that, nothing else required. I mean, he's happy to get on the phone and do that. I felt the need to address that since we switch hit on you guys by pulling Josh in, but at any rate, so I wanted to mention that particular question. I don't think there's anything else that was outside of what was talked about. Do you guys have anything else you want to add? And if not, we'll probably close this off.
Chris, I think the question and answer thing doesn't scroll down automatically. I think there's a couple at the bottom there that are new.
Thank you, Josh. All right. Thank you so much. All right, let's keep going then. So is CloudBees like an expansion to Jenkins in general? You want to take that, Josh, since you're unmuted?
I would say that, yeah, it's sort of like, I guess I would say it's like Super Jenkins.
Exactly what it is. So, so CloudBees contributes 80% of the code for Jenkins OSS, right? But you got to remember, CloudBees CI is the enterprise version, and we provide features that are way above and beyond anything you would get with the open source version.
Okay, and there was a question about, will the participants get the recording for the meeting? Absolutely, yes. We'll send out the slides and the whole recording to everybody who participated or registered, rather. And I think I've got everything now. Did I miss anything, Josh? Please tell me. Keep me honest.
I think that's it.
Okay.
That's it. It's a wrap. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you guys so much for coming. Thanks, the two of you, for giving us your expertise, and everybody have a great rest of your week.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great week as well. Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.